Hi everyone, it's Sunday and I'm doing this special off-cycle Pam chat because yesterday was such an amazing day. I'm coming to you today from Washington, D.C., where my parents live, and yesterday I joined an historic women's march on the Capitol that started, I guess, at 5th and C, that's where I was, and that had so many people we could barely move. I know the marching happened a little bit later in the afternoon, but where I was, it was so densely packed that we basically stood still for 4 or 5 hours. So that's not exactly a march per se. It was more of a standing or gathering, but what an amazing gathering it was. We had, by some estimates, 500,000 on the low end, close to 1 million on the high end of people who just showed up. And I have to give a lot of credit to the organizers who put this together. It started out with a Facebook post by somebody in Hawaii that just got hundreds and hundreds of hits, and then it went viral and it got thousands of hits, and they got a group of young ladies together, principally millennial women, young women who put this together. Eventually, I'm sure they had to go get the help of some major organizations to help fund it and get the permitting done and all of that. But it turned out to be an amazing, amazing day. And it wasn't just the thousands and thousands and thousands of protesters here in Washington who came from all over the country, but literally 670 plus sister marches all over the world, all over the world. Now, while I was standing there in this crowd, my phone didn't work because there was really no service. There were too many phones concentrated in one area, and they were basically being bombarded. So my cell phone didn't work. I didn't know about all these other sister marches. I knew that there was some going on in like Miami and New York and Chicago, but I had no idea that there was like Antarctica and Paris and Stockholm, Tel Aviv, even in tiny little towns in the United States like Wisp, Washington has a population of 900 people. 600 of them marched yesterday. That's huge. That's amazing. Towns and cities in deeply red states, Lexington, Kentucky, Biloxi, Mississippi. That's amazing. That's just amazing. And so the most important and amazing thing about all of this is that this tremendous energy was all positive. I have not seen a single report of arrests or civic disorder from any of these marches. So that tells you who was out there and what they were about. I saw some of the funniest signs I have ever seen around me. One of them was that I distinctly remember it said, women are the wall and Trump's gonna pay. I thought that one was clever. And there was a little kid, a very small kid, his picture ended up on some of the newspapers that he must have been a toddler. And he said, I like my naps, but I stay woke. And I thought that one was cute too. There were so many creative signs, so much positive energy, even though it was kind of claustrophobic where I was because I was fairly close to the stage. The people just stayed patient. They stayed positive. The speeches there were kind of too many of them, and they were kind of repetitive, but they were positive and they were uplifting. And there were some speeches that were kind of off color and some that kind of talked about issues that I thought were a little bit beyond the scope of the march. But again, this march was for people what they wanted it to be. And what it was principally was very much a positive expression of our strength as women, our unity, and our opposition to a president who through word and deed has shown utter disrespect and disparagement of women. And that is something that he needs to wake up at. We wanted him to wake up in the White House and know that we are here, we are loud, we're not going back, we're not going down, and you appoint a Supreme Court justice that overturns Roe v. Wade at your peril, because we're not going to put up with that. They have to understand that. So that's what happened yesterday. It was amazing. What happened yesterday evening was kind of perplexing. The White House press secretary, Sean Spicer, came out and gave a press conference. Now, the expectation was that he was going to come out and talk about what the president's activities were of the day. Instead, he came out with so much attitude, talking to the press about, oh, you all lied, and said, oh, this the press intentionally misrepresented and underestimated the crowds at the inauguration. Now, this is befuddling. First of all, it's petty and irrelevant. But second of all, does Sean Spicer not know that there's such a thing as video or photographs? He literally got up out there and lied about the photographs, about the crowd size, about the access. He just told flat out lies. The press secretary of the United States of America did that. Now, I understand that there are people who are annoyed about the coverage. But you don't get to make up your own facts, man. You don't get to do that. And what was really interesting was the intention behind it. The intention behind this is to try to get Donald Trump supporters to turn off any source of information that contradicts Donald Trump. There's a word for that. It's called propaganda. He is trying to separate the American people from their sources of information so that all they do is remain in thrall to Donald Trump. That's insane. That's what Hitler did. That's what despots do. That's what authoritarian, supreme leaders do. Wrap themselves up in a cloak of a cult of personality and make sure that nobody can contradict them. That's ridiculous. That's not who we are. And I find that incredibly offensive. And needless to say, it is not playing well today. So that is what happened last night. The question now is, how do we move forward from this? All of this positive energy, all of this positive willingness to act and step up and be heard, how do we channel that into actual political power? That's the big question that comes forward. Of course, Republicans are banking on the notion that all of that energy is just going to dissipate and we're going to be too busy infighting and turf grabbing to make anything of it. I think they're wrong. And I hope that they're wrong. So here are my ideas about how we go forward from this. And they're fairly simple. Number one, everybody has to make sure that they are a voter. And they must do everything in their power to ensure that they are registered, that they know where they're supposed to vote, when their votes are. If there are votes taking place between now and 2018, some places may have 2017 elections. Everybody should take it upon themselves to become educated on all of the elections that are going on in their neighborhood and make sure that they're registered and they know that who is running and that they become educated on that. That's number one. Number one, vote. Number two, run. For every municipal and local office that there is, run. Don't think that your savior is going to come from outside of yourself. You are the help that you're looking for. If you feel some kind of way about what's going on in your neighborhoods, in your communities, in your country, run for something. I know it's easier said than done. Anybody knows that. It's me. But don't let that discourage you. There are so many organizations out there that can help you put together a campaign, figure out how to file the right paperwork. Get out there and run for something. You can run. Don't worry about whether you have the necessary background or you've been in politics or this, that, and the other. Hey, new rules, new time. Run for something. Because you never know who you could convince. And your life experience can resonate with a lot of people. Especially if you're true and you're honest and you're compassionate and you're convincing in the way that you present it. Get out there and run for something. So number one is vote. Number two is run. Number three is organize. Find a group somewhere that shares your values, your issues, and things that you prioritize. And join them. Be it the Sierra Club, NARAL, NOW, Black Lives Matter, whatever organization out there represents you and what you're into, join it. Planned Parenthood, whatever it is, the local Democratic parties, local political organizations, Ruth's List, Emily's List, whatever it is that you are about, join it. Don't sit on the sidelines, no more. Put your time, talent, and treasure with others to move an agenda forward. Join something. Do it now. Find something to join and do it now. That's number three. And number four is speak. Now, I want to break this fourth one down for you a little bit because I think it's important. those of you who paid attention to the news know that a couple weeks ago, Meryl Streep gave a speech at the Golden Globes, and she was getting a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Golden Globes, which means that she got a good 5 minutes to say whatever she had to say. And that is the tradition of virtually all of the award shows, is that when they give these special Lifetime Achievement type awards, these awards that reward a body of work rather than just this year's nominees, that those people are given time to thank people, to talk about their career, to talk about the meaning of the award and all these other things. But quite frankly, there is no rules about what they can talk about. They can talk about whatever they want to talk about. It is their moment, a moment earned through years of work. So Meryl Streep had her moment, and what did she do with that moment? She started talking about empathy. And she used a particular example of Donald Trump mocking a disabled reporter to talk about the question of empathy. Now, she didn't use Donald Trump's words. And she didn't say anything about Donald Trump supporters. Not anything. She talked about that act in that space. And know that she absolutely nailed it. And Trump supporters lost their minds. They lost it. They were so angry and so upset and so hurt. And I want to talk about that reaction, because that reaction is, I don't want to hear things that jar my worldview. I just don't want to hear them. And that's so funny, because that is what's happening in our world right now. More and more, all of us are able to create an echo chamber around ourselves. More and more, all of us are able to choose the information that we pay attention to and that which we don't pay attention to. And certainly people on the left do it and people on the right do it. And people on the right are now more and more encapsulating and circulating themselves around people who see the world the way they do. And so every time now that they see a message that's jarring to that worldview, they cop an attitude every time. Because it's what I call cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is just a fancy word of saying something that shakes your worldview, shakes your cognitive understanding of something. And people feel emotionally good when they see messages and things that reinforce their worldview. And people feel personally bad when they see things that make it go, no, either I'm wrong or what I thought was wrong, or people don't agree with me, I'm in the minority, I'm off base. People don't like hearing messages about that. It's not just an intellectual thing, it's an emotional thing. They don't like it emotionally. And so the more that people put themselves in echo chambers, the more they seek that psychological reinforcement of the way they think. That's what they seek. Now, I know this feeling because when I was campaigning, I'd go up to the northern part of the state and all I'd see around me is Trump stickers. Why do people put Trump stickers on their car? It's not because they support Trump. It's because they want other people to know that they support Trump. That reinforces this idea. It's persuasive, but it's also reinforcing of a worldview. And that's why bumper stickers and t-shirts and all these other things are important, right? They cause people to believe that they are in the right. So, maybe now's the time to let people know when they're not right. Here's your last homework assignment. Find a bumper sticker, a t-shirt, a hat, a button, something that you display publicly on a regular basis that tells the world what you believe. And make sure that you wear it all the time. All the time. Wherever you are. On your car, on your person, on your hat, on your button, on your purse, whatever it is that you have. Find it. And I prefer it to be a positive message. But hey, it can be any message that you feel strongly about. Wear it everywhere. And let's make it a thing amongst ourselves, amongst people who agree with us, to publicly display it all the time. All the time. So that people see in large numbers what the majority actually believes. Because without seeing that, they trick themselves into believing they're the majority, and they're not. And the thing is, they've gotten themselves around people who reinforce their lie. 71 million people voted for someone other than Donald Trump. 71 million people who voted for not him. And yet the people who voted for him have lied to themselves constantly telling themselves they're the majority, that that America's taken over, that they're the real America. What a bunch of lies. But these lies are reinforced in their echo chamber. And the only way to dispel them of that is that everywhere they go and everything that they do, be it the mall, the bowling alley, the shopping, Publix, if they go anywhere, they should see at least one message that says, nope, what you tell yourself is a lie. Subtly and not so subtly. Overtly, make it clear. When you tell yourself that the majority supports Donald Trump, it's a lie, and you need to be told it everywhere you go. And guess what? If that creates cognitive dissonance in you, good. It should. Because you're lying to yourself. That's our homework. Number 1, vote. Number 2, run. Number 3, join. And number 4, speak. Always. That's how we take the energy from yesterday and turn it into the action of tomorrow. I'll see you guys on Wednesday. I am rooting for the Packers and the Patriots. Hopefully they win today. Last weekend of having multiple games. I'm going to miss football so much. Y'all have a great week and a weekend, and I will see you on Wednesday.